All right, let's talk about one of the biggest challenges for any customer success officer. How do you take those big, high level corporate goals and turn them into something you can actually do every day? Something that really drives results. Today, we're going to walk through the playbook that connects the boardroom straight to the front line. So, it really all boils down to this one question, right? How do we take a mission statement that sounds great on a PowerPoint slide and prove we actually did it? That's what this is all about, giving you a real framework to connect your daily work directly to a strategic win you can measure. Okay, so let's get into it. Every single goal that actually works, I don't care how big or small, is built on these three pillars. First, you've got the description. That's the what. What are we actually trying to do? Second, the anticipated impact. That's the why. Why does this even matter to the business? And finally, and this is the most important part, the measure of success. That's the how. How will we prove with zero ambiguity that we've won? Okay, so now that we have that foundation, let's get really specific. For a customer success officer, that how pillar, the measure of success, is really defined by 4 core activities. Think of this as your personal blueprint for turning strategy into real impact. So, here they are. These are the 4 big things that turn all that strategy talk into actual results. We're talking about truly proactive engagement through service reviews that deliver massive value. Then, you've got this crucial 1-2 punch. Managing risk before it blows up into a crisis, and making sure you communicate those potential risks to the whole team. And finally, creating real commercial value by being that trusted advisor. We're going to break down each one of these. All right, first up, proactive engagement. This is so much more than just checking in. We're talking about turning those routine calls into these powerhouse strategic meetings, the kind that stop customers from leaving and actually build rock-solid loyalty. First things first, let's get one thing straight. An IB review or install base review is not the same as a service review. The IB review is just a piece of the puzzle. It's a data check. The service review? Well, that's the main event. That's the high-value meeting where you, the CSO, deliver the kind of strategic advice that makes a real difference to your customer's business. And this right here is your game plan for that main event. This standardized agenda is the secret sauce, ensuring every single customer gets that same consistent high-value experience. You kick off with operational performance using data from C360, then you manage their product lifecycle with the IB console, you proactively sniff out risks with AOS, and then you tie it all together by aligning with their strategic roadmap. It's a full 360-degree checkup.
Okay, but here's the kicker, and you've got to remember this. A review without action is basically a waste of time. The real measure of success is the 30-day action plan. Every single insight you uncover has to become a documented action item with a clear owner and a deadline. This is how you show real trackable value and prove your impact.
So you're engaging proactively. Now let's build on that with pillar number 2. This is where we shift from being reactive firefighters to becoming predictive. We're talking about stopping major problems and the revenue loss that comes with them long before they even start. But before we can prevent a fire, we have to know exactly what kind of fire we're talking about. A CAP escalation, that's for the critical account program, isn't just a support ticket. No, this is an all-hands-on-deck, account-level crisis where the entire relationship and all the revenue tied to it is on the line. Your job as a CSO is to make absolutely sure your accounts never end up here. And this is where your role as a CSO becomes super, super clear. A simple technical escalation for one support case, that's owned by a duty manager. Your role, you monitor it. But a CAP escalation, that's about the entire health of the account. Your role here is way more critical. It's all about prevention. Which, of course, brings us to the big question. If your job is to prevent a crisis, how in the world do you see one coming before it hits? Well, you don't need a crystal ball. You just need a framework that combines cold, hard data with, actual human insight. The answer? It's what we call a bimodal risk assessment. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a doctor giving a diagnosis. AIOS gives you the lab results. It tells you what the systems are feeling, hard data on health, capacity, and security. But C360, that's the conversation with the patient. It tells you what the people are feeling through things like NPS scores and support tickets. To get a great diagnosis, you absolutely need both. And all of that boils down to this really simple but incredibly powerful formula. When you see high technical risk, the systems are flashing red, and you see low relationship health, the people are unhappy, that right there is your warning sign for a potential CAP escalation. That's your trigger to immediately create an improvement plan, and just as important, to proactively communicate that risk to management and the account team, getting ahead of it is everything.
All right, let's switch gears a bit and talk about something that might feel different, contributing directly to business growth. Now, this is not about turning you into a salesperson. It's about being such a good strategic partner that you naturally uncover opportunities for your customer to get even more value.
So the target here is pretty straightforward. Generate at least one qualified lead per quarter. But, and this is a big but, that word qualified is everything. Success isn't about pushing a sale. It's the natural result of a great process, where you find a genuine customer need during your service reviews. And here's the playbook. This is exactly how you do it, without ever feeling like a salesperson. The conversation happens during the service review. Your method is simply to identify a need. Your action is to log a qualified lead in C360. And then, this part is crucial, you hand it off to the sales team. That clean handoff is what protects your status as that trusted, impartial advisor. So what does that look like in the real world? It's all about listening for the pain points. When your customer says something like, "Man, upgrades are such a hassle," that's a perfect signal for managed software upgrades. Or if they say, "Our critical cases just seem to get stuck," that is your cue to talk about the value of direct routing to level 2 support. You're just connecting their problem to a solution. Now, this next one, this is a brilliant little strategy. We call it the self-referral path for BlueXP. It starts with you just doing your job incredibly well, using AI ops to deliver a huge insight. The customer, totally impressed, naturally asks, "Wow, how can we get these kinds of insights ourselves?" And your answer? That is the qualified lead. You created the demand just by being an amazing advisor. Okay, so let's pull it all back together. When you take that proactive engagement, add in the predictive risk management, and then layer on that value generation, what you get is a really clear picture of the modern strategic customer success officer. You're the linchpin for keeping customers happy and growing the business. And your power really comes from mastering this tech stack. Let's go back to that doctor analogy one more time. AIOS is your predictive engine. It's the lab results telling you what the systems are feeling. C360 is your system of record. It's the patient conversation telling you what the people are feeling. True mastery is when you can weave the insights from both of these together to see the whole story. And that is the end game here. This is what it all adds up to. When you execute on this playbook, the CSO stops being just a support role. You become a proactive advisor, a predictive risk manager, and an absolutely indispensable driver of customer health and long-term value for the company. So, I'm going to leave you with a question to take with you. Your next service review is tomorrow. Forget the old way of doing things. Based on everything we just talked about, what's the one powerful insight from AIOS that you're going to open with to immediately show your value and totally change the conversation?